This is Jilliana Ranicar-Breese, and I'm here in Chefchouen. I can never pronounce it properly. Chefchouen, with Svenja. Svenja Bary, who is quite a mongrel. She's an artist and a writer, and she was actually born in the States. Tell me about your early life.
Well, I grew up actually between Germany, Hamburg to be precise, and Malaga in Andalusia in the south of Spain.
Yes, and your mother was German or is German?
My mother's German, my father's originally from Hungary, from Budapest. But he went to the States like 40 years ago, and that was also where I was born.
Right.
But I gave back my American passport like 25 years ago.
Right, because your identity is European.
Yes, I identify as European. Neither as German nor as Spanish.
You're a woman of the world.
At least I feel European.
Yes.
I feel connected to Southern Europe.
Yes.
And I do feel very connected to Chefchouen.
Yes.
Where I've been
in Morocco. We're in Morocco, in fact.
Yes, but it's very close to southern Spain.
Yes.
Actually, we're only like 250 kilometers away from where I grew up.
And historically, of course, it's very strongly linked.
Yes, as well. That's also something I've written about, something I'm very interested in, and reflects a bit of my own journey.
Yes. Now, tell me a bit about your early life.
Well, as I said, I grew up in southern Spain, and then I went to university in Hamburg, but only for 2 years. And then I had to see the world with my own eyes.
You were studying literature, weren't you? German literature.
German literature, because I've always wanted to write. I've always wanted to
Would
be an
that include
artist.
poetry as well?
No, not poetry.
Just the literature, yes.
Literature, a bit of philosophy, a bit of lyrics, a bit of everything, but actually prose.
Right.
Not poetry.
Right.
So I traveled the world. I was all over Asia for almost 3 years, 9 months traveling through India, from the north to the south, all around the tip. And when I came back to Spain, I was drawn to come to Morocco. And actually what I found here is a mix of India and southern Spain. Morocco is culturally Islamic, the same as most of north of India, and I'm connected to the mountains, the light, all of this, which is like where I grew up.
Well, a lot of artists have come here, Tangier as well, of course.
Well, it's also a place, you're on the coast, you have the Atlantic, everything is fresh and moving here. There's a flow of peoples, of cultures, of wind, of everything. You have the wind from the Sahara blowing into Malaga. Often you come on the terrace and you see the sand lying there. This is a place where things flow back and forth, and you have an intermingling of ideas and peoples. And I'm drawn to that. This
And
inspires me. Yes.
You married a Moroccan and you had 2 children.
Yes, I did not only fall in love with this village, but also with a man here 30 years ago, which didn't work out.
But you're still good friends.
Which is okay, yes, we're actually quite good friends nowadays again.
And your children?
My children live in Hamburg at the moment. We see each other, not as much as I'd like to at the moment, and internet is not always as good as it should be here.
Yes, that's for sure.
But they are very close, they're with me every day.
But you're doing what you've always wanted to do, and that is to paint and to write.
Yes, I'm continuing actually where I left off 20 years ago.
Before you were married.
Well, 20 years ago when I got divorced, when I left Chefchouen. Now I've returned to this city, and I want to continue with my art here, and I would like to do something for the local artisans as well, to promote their work, to do workshops, to to really live this idea of intermingling of cultures, of knowledge, of people coming together from different places and having a common denominator, art, on which to communicate.
Tell me about the book that you wrote, The Nights of Djerba, because Djerba is in Tunisia. It's the little island of Tunisia.
Yes, it's a beautiful little island in the south of Tunisia, but as a setting for my story, for what I want to say, I found it was an ideal place. It's a Muslim country, very close to Europe. Also, you have an intermingling of cultures, and actually the base from which I go off on my fictional novel is when there was a terrorist attack on the synagogue in 2002, half a year after 9/11. And this kind of was a starting point for the Islamic terrorist acts all over the place. It was a turning point in history. And in Djerba, this little place functions in my novel as a good setting to place the different interests at work at this point.
Have you written the book in German or in English?
This book is in English, but I've also written a couple of things in German. Travel stories, personal stories, and a little novel based in Mallorca, which is also about somebody being killed, and there's a bit of action, but it talks a lot about Mallorca because I want to inform my reader. I want to share something about the history of a place so that one can connect maybe on a also mentally.
Well, Mallorca had a Jewish community.
Yes.
Have you linked that?
Yes, I mentioned this in my book because
the little pigs, the Chouetas.
You have a lot also in Mallorca. You had the Vikings there, you had the Jews there, you had the Inquisition raved there to enormous extents, still much longer than it did in the mainland of Spain. There's a lot to Mallorca, apart from the fact that it is a very beautiful place, which I also like very much.
Which the Germans consider another province of Germany, so I've discovered.
Well, many Germans do, but actually there are many British people living there. They have a very nice British newspaper. You have all kinds of expat communities living there. Actually, you have an enormous South American community living there. You have many people from Guatemala. You have African communities, African refugees living there. There's an intermingling of people there nowadays, but this only changed actually in the 70s after Franco died and the tourism came to the island.
So you like history, you study history, European history.
I like history. I think it is the basis. If you understand history, you can understand also what's happening right now.
So tell me about your book. Or maybe we'll talk about your book in part 2. Yes, I think that's a very good idea. Your pen name, in fact, is Alexis Debary.
Yes.
So you have your artistic name or your real name, Svenja Bary, and your nom de plume. So we'll talk about that in part 2. Thank you very much.
Thank you.